Oh dear. This is exactly what we had feared, isn't it? Yesterday we made a video about Vancouver Canucks fans and their response to Elias Pettersson's performance at the 2025 Four Nations Face-Off Tournament, and it was a really big deal. A lot of Canucks fans were panicking and expressing their utter disappointment, frustration, and even fear at Elias Pettersson's play, his career, his reputation, how he's going to perform for the Vancouver Canucks. And in the comment section of that video, a lot of y'all had your piece too. Folks talking about their frustration, folks talking about their disappointment, the same old song and dance. And I get it. It's very easy for you to say, Lego, the media is not giving us a break with this topic. Why aren't you giving us a break with this topic? And I'll say the same thing that I always say. This is a talking point. We're not only talking about Pettersson. We've made videos about a bunch of other stuff today by itself. Sure, we made a video yesterday about Petey, and today about Petey, and a few days ago about Petey, but there are so many other things that we are talking about, so it's not all just Pettersson. But the fact that this is getting even more steam, and that we are seeing 10,000+ views on these videos, folks commenting, expressing their frustration and their engagement in this story. There is some level of apathy I've started to see on social media. Canucks fans who are just getting more disengaged with the quote-unquote Elias Pettersson isn't good discourse, and just kind of accepting it as a hard truth. And that, I feel, is where things get dangerous, when we start to be complacent with the idea that an $11.6 million superstar in one of the best hockey markets on the planet is just not good enough. And today, we are expanding on that conversation even more by going over to Frank Seravalli and his appearance on Halford and Bruff. This show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there, check out the first link in the description to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and support this channel in the process. There's a 2-minute clip posted on the Sportsnet 650 Twitter account of Frank Seravalli and his commentary on the Elias Pettersson trade situation and what this tournament had done for his stock. You can see there were 20,000 views. There are a few replies, actually, going out there and saying, hey, Frank Seravalli is the last guy that we should be giving any attention to when it comes to Elias Pettersson conversations. Why, Halford and Bruff, do you guys keep on putting this guy on your show? And again, I'll say the same thing. This isn't what they said on the broadcast particularly, but this is what I'm saying. They talk about a lot of stuff, not just Elias Pettersson. That is one of the many things that they talk about. They just happen to post the clip of the Pettersson talk on their own page. It's more than just, oh, Seravalli does have a vendetta against Petey, which doesn't really feel too wrong, to be honest. We can dive into some extra stuff here, but still, I'm going to leave a link in the description to the video clip where Seravalli talks about Elias Pettersson, and I also use the AI machine to help transcribe some of these quotes. This is what Seravalli said on the video. If Pettersson doesn't figure it out and doesn't begin to put the pieces back together in his game, I don't see how some people would say, hey, there's huge risk in trading Pettersson. What happens if, he goes somewhere else and he turns back into the 40-goal, 100-point player that we know he can be? I think there's way bigger risk from Vancouver's standpoint of shouldering that and having the no-trade clause kick in on July 1st and not offloading the deal if you can. Forget the return. Think about the risk of what happens if his game doesn't get put back together again. It's a shifting scale, and I think it's certainly of note for the Canucks to consider not just before March 7th, even though this tournament did nothing to help his trade value, but just in terms of moving forward of how you build your team and what you're going to be centering around quite literally as the backbone of it. I can't imagine there's not significant and serious internal questions as to whether or not Pettersson can be that guy. So this perspective is saying that Vancouver has a lot of risk here, whether or not there's still that profile in Pettersson that can see him be a 40-goal, 100-point guy. We know he has it in him, it's just how far down is that stored in the closet. And thinking about it, is it more risky for the Canucks to trade him away and have him become that 40-goal, 100-point player one more time? Or hold on to him and try to make a gamble, see if he's able to bring that out in Vancouver, and it just doesn't work? What's more risky here for Vancouver? Bruff then asks Seravalli on the program, will it still be easy to find a taker for Pettersson, and not just a taker of the contract, but somebody who's actually willing to give up something for him? Seravalli replies, I think that's becoming harder and harder, because think about what I just said, the risk of taking on that deal, with that term and that dollar amount remaining. The other part of this, and this came directly from a rival GM, is that it would be hard for anyone trading and giving up significant value for Pettersson to really feel good about the deal. Everyone can see his play. They understand they've internalized whatever issues have gone on with this team internally. I think there's significant trepidation. I really do. So even rival GMs are telling Seravalli that it's really difficult for another general manager to look at Pettersson and say, hey, that's a guy I want to shell out a whole bunch of assets for. That's a guy I want to give away a whole bunch of futures and draft picks and players in the now for, because that's a guy that's worth $11.6 million and who's capable of getting 40 goals and 100 points. Everybody was watching his play at the Four Nations, and he did not impress. Bruff said it himself. Pettersson did not belong with the best players in the world. And there's so much, I'd say, weight on Canucks fans who are watching this situation unfold and just getting tired of seeing how poorly he's performing, and now people are questioning Frank Seravalli and whether or not he even has a meaningful voice in this conversation, because, quite frankly, he has been one of the more anti-Pettersson guys in the media the past few weeks, even months. That now, to hear this from Seravalli's POV, that other GMs are telling him that they're really becoming scared of trading for Elias Pettersson, how there's trepidation on how things were handled internally with the Vancouver Canucks. Hey, it's one of these things where if he's playing with a guy like Miller, who's a hard-nosed competitor and a player who pushes Pettersson to become better, if Pettersson crumbles away under that pressure, then other GMs have to make sure, okay, if Pettersson comes to our team, we have to make sure we don't have a JT Miller. We have to make sure that he's not getting disturbed and thrown off his game by his teammates, and this kind of thing allows him to play worse or whatever. Like, you can talk about the injuries, you can talk about the tendonitis, you can talk about the wrist, you can talk about the player dynamics, you can talk about how he doesn't get along with Miller and how that was a really bad situation. There are so many extra things with Pettersson's profile beyond just an $11.6 million guy who had 100 points 2 seasons ago and 89 points last year. There's more to it that Seravalli's like, yeah, their GMs are scared. There's significant trepidation here. So I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. How do you feel about this trade update from Frank Seravalli in regards to Elias Pettersson and how other teams are scared? That's one of the things that I think is getting kind of buried in the lead here. Teams are scared to take on Pettersson. And I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section. How does that make you feel? What do you think the situation is going to look like here in the next few weeks? Because if Vancouver starts getting scared themselves, if they really do start to believe that Pettersson is not that guy and he can't ever live up to that contract, then what? You have to trade him for peanuts? You trade him for Dylan Cousins and an extra second-round pick or something? You trade him with a sweetener so that a team takes on that full contract? Let me know your thoughts. Do you still believe in Elias Pettersson? Do you think all of this conversation will be hogwash in a few seasons? Do you think in 2025, 2026, Pettersson gets back out there and he scores an 80-point pace, and then in 26-27 he becomes a 100-point player for the rest of the contract? Is that possible? And is it possible with Vancouver? Do you think Pettersson bounces back from this inevitably? Do you think he keeps on going downhill? It's been over a year since we actually saw Pettersson play good hockey. He's had a few games in here over the past year where he has points and he maybe gets a goal or two and he looks like, hey, maybe Vintage PD is back. But no, it has not been stagnant in any capacity to fully believe that the old Pettersson with 100-point potential has been around us in the past 12 months or so. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Elias Pettersson. The link to the video with Seravalli's commentary is going to be in the description. It's on Sportsnet's Twitter account. Let me know in the comments what do you think about this entire situation. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.